We have action.
Okay, all right. Well, hello and welcome everyone. Happy Wednesday on a snowy January morning. And I'm delighted you're here. My name is Wendy Shoemaker and I'm the program director at the University Career Center. And I have been asked to speak with you. And actually I asked to talk with you about using Microsoft Word for formatting. In my experience, my background is as a career counselor. I've been doing this work supporting college students with their career plans for over 20 years now. And through the years, I've learned that just simple tips and tricks in using Microsoft Word really make creating and formatting and maintaining your resume much easier. And so a lot of the things I've shown students, in addition to figuring out what you're going to say and how you're going to say it and all that stuff, is really about how to get the things to kind of look like you want it to look on that page. And I think for that reason, because it can be mystifying, I think there's the temptation to use templates in Microsoft Word. Google has them, et cetera, and out there. And I can see the reasons in how it's so compelling because it arranges stuff for you, and that's nice. The problem with templates, though, is that they're arranged in sections that are not formattable. You can't really change things, and so they're really designed for non-college students. Honestly, they'll have the education section then at the bottom, or you can't move things around. You can't be flexible as you would want to be in a resume. So if you learn just some simple tips and tricks in Word, you can set it up all on your own and be able to kind of change them. You can have control over your document. So I popped in to the chat earlier a resume booklet that we have available on our website. That is kind of like the gold standard of our resume advice, and it's fantastic for figuring out what you're going to say, what sections and headings and how do you say it and all that. I encourage you to make good use of that. And we have services, coaching services that can help you understand that, or take a look at your resume and all that. So, but nowhere in that booklet, and this is not a criticism of that booklet because I don't even know how you would do this in this booklet, is to kind of to show you how to do this in Word. So I'm going to show you that. And this is a little bit different presentation for me style because I'm used to sharing my screen and using PowerPoint to kind of guide my work. But I thought if I'm showing Word, does it make sense to use PowerPoint? It probably doesn't. So I'm kind of out there in terms of using a way to show this just using straight up Word. But I hope this will be meaningful for you. And I encourage you to ask questions throughout the experience. Okay, so on your screen, you should be able to see a resume labeled Walter Conservation. Can you all see that? Kim, can you see that? Okay, thank you. All right, and so I'm just going to make this a little bit smaller, and I'm going to ask a question about, if you want to, if you have the resume book at your fingertips, you can also look at this, and it's on page, oh golly, what page is that? Page 12. Page 12, if that is helpful to you, or if you have a paper copy in front of you, either way. But I'm going to scan this out so you can see, and unfortunately, you're going to have really good eyesight to see the things. But I want you to just take a look, kind of a bird's eye view, and tell me what you like about this resume. So we're going to keep it in the positive realm right now, okay?
It's on which page?
It's on page 12.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Mir. So page 12, you've got the resume booklet online or at your fingertips. If not, you can just take a look at what's on my screen. And you can use the chat function, or you can unmute yourself and just throw it out there. I don't care. What do you like about this particular resume? What makes this resume so effective?
I like how broken up it is, having different sections that make it easier for you to navigate the page if you're trying to read through it quickly.
Thank you, Ethan. Yeah, it's broken up. There's sections, Jessica, thank you. It's easy to tell what is where. Right. Yeah, but how long did it took? It took you like 10 seconds to figure out kind of like, I mean, it's almost, you didn't even take that long. You just kind of, you look at it, you kind of understand, just almost intuitively, you understand where everything is. Okay. Other things.
More like we have it on LinkedIn. So where we have the education and then we write all the education that we've had and then other things. It's more like that, I feel.
I missed the first part of what you said.
Oh,
that
I just said it's
Yeah.
more like LinkedIn. So when we have the LinkedIn profile, we first write our name and then we have the education, the experience, and all those things. So it's more sorted out that way.
Yeah, you like the way it's sorted. Okay, good. Thank you. Yeah, yeah. It's more like LinkedIn. It's got your education stuff all in one. And that is a conscious choice. And this is not really the topic of our discussion today, but this resume is really interesting to me because we designed this a couple of years ago to encapsulate the kind of classic academic experiences for a student that kind of don't get a lot of attention on a typical resume. Every single one of these are on unpaid or kind of a classic academic experience. So that's like a gigantic education section. I mean, they got a senior project and they got a study abroad project. Those are not on typical resume samples, I will say. We really highlight the internship section because that internship is awesome, especially is very congruent to Walter Conservation's job search target. Okay, so there's two parts, and this is how I critique a resume with a student and help and give feedback. I always think I divide it up into two buckets. The first bucket is what are you saying? The content. What is there substance? Okay, you got to have that, right? The section, is it easy to read? Does it draw do I understand? And so that's really the focus of what we're going to talk about today. Is that second bucket is the formatting. Okay, formatting tips and tricks. All right. So I'm going to pull a document over here. It's just straight up Word. So I told you it's like, okay. It's simple tools to make resume construction an easy task. So the first thing is what we're going to talk about is design basics. How to align your information in minimal vertical lines. Okay. So let me show you again. I'm going to expand my screen here. And what I mean by that, there's vertical lines are kind of where your eye is drawn to. Okay, there's minimal vertical lines. Here's one right here where the bullets are. Here's another one where the indentation is. Sorry, and here's the kind of the dates. That's about it. You don't want to have something like this is what I've seen on resumes, like something like this, and then this, and this, and this, and this. I've seen that. I'm like, what a mess, like. Now, so avoid the temptation to use subheadings or sub bullets. One line, you get one line, that's it. Okay. And that's just to kind of keep you focused on, just all in kind of one vertical and make sure that those bullets are all lined up. Okay. We're going to focus in on that. Hold on a second. I lost okay. Be consistent, and that is a very important thing. So using bolding, italics, kind of come up with a style guide. Like, okay, my dates are here, and the job titles are always in bold, and my positions always have bullets at this location. Be consistent, kind of understand kind of how things are, and that really helps you too. Okay. Doing this helps you if you set up your resume using these tips and tricks. It makes it easy to update. Okay, let me show you something. What happens when you don't have it set up well is let me turn that off here. All right, so everything looks beautiful, right? Like Vygotsky, and or it's kind of I've put in some mistakes in here so that we're going to correct. But look what happens when I try to, let's say I'm not a Times New Roman person anymore. And I want to up the font. Let's say someone tells me like, I'm going to try to make this a 12 point font. Uh-oh. all that beautiful alignment that I had, you know. So before, so this is like, it looks like it's Times New Roman 11, all right? So everything Lawrence, Kansas, and it's all right aligned. Isn't this a lovely resume? Look, but if I try to change the font, it messes all that up. So I'm going to show you some things about how to set this up so that you don't ever have to mess with that again. You can change the font, you can change the font size, all that. And so I'm going to give you the knowledge about how to do that. And I share this with so many students, and they're like, oh, I had no idea. Okay. So, all right. Other couple things is bullets point to special text. Okay. Bullets are literally what they mean. It's like it's pointing. You're like, I want you to look at this. Look at this. So use them sparingly. Use them intentionally. Okay. Also, you know, the idea of underlining in italics, use them sparingly too. It's probably not a good idea to use underlines frequently, because then all of a sudden, have you ever looked at a document that it's all italics or it's a lot of italics or a lot of underlining? It's a mess. You know, it's kind of noisy. There's some, and the reason why you liked Walter Conservation is it used those really sparingly. Okay, so if you look here, let's go back. It's bold. We use italics here, here, here. You know, I mean, it's really sparing. So it's not that you're not using it, it's just that you're going to use it intentionally. Okay, and to add a little variety. Okay, all right. So, and you can follow along if you would like using your own computer, if that makes sense. If you have, if you don't, that's fine. But couple things is using the toolbox. And so the default screen or the default tools that you have in Microsoft Word don't really help you a lot. So a couple things I'm going to show you is first is this. See this little button right here? It's called the show hide button. And this tells you a lot. Okay, so show hide button shows you how things are formatted. And I use this all over the place. I use this to understand where my tabs are, where my spaces are. Basically, I teach you to format your document so that you don't have to do this. But look at, so now I know the spacing. Okay, you don't have to do that. Here's what tabs look like. And that it's called a carriage return. It probably doesn't make sense, that term, but that's back in the olden days when we had typewriters, we would say carriage return because that's when we would return the roll to the next line. So it's a return. Okay, so those are things that you're going to be able to see. The other thing is you're going to want to turn on your ruler. Okay, so let's look at, say I just clicked on view and see how I have ruler selected. Typically, the default versions of Word don't have that on. So this is what, you don't have that. So I'm going to turn it on, okay? If you want, if you're really concerned about vertical grid lines, you can turn those on and off, and that show. I don't really use them for the majority of my work, but if I'm like, wait a minute, is that aligned? I'll turn on the grid line so I don't have to second guess myself, okay? So that's the ruler. And then the other thing is, I don't know who thought this was a good idea, but somebody did. Word in the latest couple of last releases have decided that the default is that there's this annoying thing called an 8-point space after each paragraph, which is not your friend. And so what I do is I turn that off and bring it down to 0. And so that now I'm making sure that everything is single space. I am in control. I'm telling you what's going on. I don't want any default thing. I don't want Word to tell me what's going on. Okay. All right. The other things is using your keyboard to make it really quick. And so you may already know this, and this is from the olden days when we used DOS. And so I've noticed that some people who are familiar with DOS back in that, the Stone Age of computers, use this a lot, but I use this a lot, and I share this with students like, I had no idea. Control X cuts text, so control, and if you have a Mac, I think Mac users help me. Is it the Apple key or is it the command? Is it the command key? is your equivalent. So that's Control X is to cut. Control V is to paste.
Command.
So who said that? Command, thank you. And then Control C is, so it would be Command C, Command X, Command B, Command A, be copy. And then Control A. Oh, Control A, I use it all over the place, that. And so that's like, this is a nice little tool to use. Like, I just don't feel the Calibra anymore. I think I'm going to become a Cambria document. And that's just select all that, and that's just boom, I did that instead of like, what I see a lot of people do, like, okay, wait a minute. Taking forever, wait, oh, yeah, that kind of thing. It's just a simple little thing. Okay. All right. What we're going to talk about specifically, and this is where I show a lot, is standard menu items you're probably not using. Okay. The first one, because we have the ruler, is how to right align your tabs. Okay. So we're going to fix a document that I found earlier. And it is, let's see, hold on a second. Here we go. Here's Vi. So this, remember Vi, this is the one you're like, hey, it looks pretty good to me. But then wait a minute. Well, look what happens when we turn on the show hide button. Uh-oh, Vi, we know your secrets. Vi, what Vi did was do this. Like this. And so like the minute Vi tries to change tries to move that or add text, that whole thing is going to get messed up. And she's going to spend hours, like, wait a minute, because, like tab, space, that kind of thing. Annoying. You don't have to do it like that. Okay. So the first thing I show you is how to right align your tab so that you can have, because everybody loves this. By the way, you don't have to have it like this. Somewhere, I don't know where someone got the impression that you have to have it right aligned. It looks nice, but if you don't want to bother, you don't have to. Okay. This is completely and utterly fine too. I have versions of my own CV like this. So, and I've been doing this for years and years. Okay. Just be consistent. So now you can see using the show hide button. So I've got a comma and one space, and just be consistent. You're going to use a comma and one space. This is fine. But if you wanted that right aligned thing, you would use the right align tab. Okay. So over here, you're going to notice, see this little button right here? You probably always wondered what that was about. Well, this is about your tabs. And the default version of tabs is always left align. Just see how my screen says left align. And it's an L. So I'm going to keep on clicking that until I get a backward L. And it says right tab. Okay. So I'm going to see where my cursor is right before the L in Lawrence, Kansas. I'm going to I see my cursor and it's right over here up on the ruler. I'm just going to put it somewhere on the ruler so I can drag it over right where the margin is. Okay. And then I'm going to hit tab. And now I've got this right aligned. And let's say let's do it again. So I make sure that it's right at tab. Then I move it over. You have to do it every line. Okay. Because Word says, are you sure? I'm not sure. You're like, I'm sure. So move it over. Bloop. Look at that. Easy peasy. Instead of tab, space, is over here. Wait a minute. That kind of thing. This is like a game changer. I've shown so many people how to do this. And so take a look at your document. Here's Vi, we're gonna do this again. Bloop. So remember what I did before? I changed the font size. Look at that. It hangs out there. It'll stay there forever until you tell it not to. Okay. That's the first thing I want to show you. Okay. Any questions about that? Okay. We'll move forward.
Wendy, maybe you could show, I think if you decide to change that right tab for one of the lines, I know you showed me one time to just take your cursor over and drop it down, which I thought was helpful.
Let me go back. So Kim, I don't know if I understand what you're asking. Ask your question again.
So you showed me one time, many years ago, that if you decide you want to get rid of a right tab, that you can just put your cursor on it and drop it down to delete it.
Like that.
Yeah, but you, right over on the ruler, and you took it and you dropped it down to get rid of it.
I did. Okay, I did.
Yeah. You forgot
I
that great
did, yeah.
tip. It was a
Well,
great tip
that's
for me.
great. Yes, this is, we planned all this out and I forgot about that.
Yeah, it's a great tip that you showed.
Yeah. So if you want to get rid of it, yeah, it's a good point. All right, good. All right. So let's go back to Walter Conservation, and because I messed up Walter earlier. Poor Walter. He had a beautifully formatted resume, and I completely messed it up. So this is what I see students do a lot. Let me see if I can continue to mess it up. Is this, and I don't even know why this is. It's because you just don't know. Is okay. So I've taken all the stuff out, all the formatting out, and I see this action. Insert is it shape, I think, or shape or pictures or icons. And actually, I don't even know if I know how to do it. And they'll actually insert a picture and as a bullet. And don't do that, because that's a mess. All you need to do is use the bullet. And now this is maybe something you already know how to do. But you just select the text and use the bullet feature right here. Okay. Now you're like, wait a minute, something's amiss here. I've noticed that these bullets are not lined up with that bullet. If you notice that, then that's a good thing to notice. Like, that's a problem, right? So you're going to use these little buttons as your friends. You can drag them over. So see how it's showing me the vertical line? It's aligning those bullets up. Okay, that's the first thing I want to do. But the second thing is the text is not. Is not. So I'm going to move it over so it's lined up. Okay, so basically playing with these little tabs up in these formatting. So this is the first line indent and the hanging indent. Using those as your friends. You make this easier by just selecting all the text that you want to move that around. Okay. Let's say you're like, I'm not feeling this line up anymore. I want to indent it because I want to, and that's fun. But you can use this thing called increase indent. Okay, it's not listening to me. So hold on a second. Let's try this again. All right. Every once in a while, Word decides like, I'm just not going to get along with you today. So, all right, something's happened here. Oh, you know what? Because I had it on, hold on a second. Control Z. Oh, Control Z. Is anybody, Control Z is something I probably should have had. When you are designing your resume, use Control Z, because if you mess something up, you're like, wait a minute. I really want to make sure I don't like what I just did there. Let's see if I can get this to go. Okay, for some reason. We'll move on from this, but I'll come back to this later. I don't know why. Okay, so let me go back to my Word document. So we showed bulleted lists. Now let's look at underlines. And this is something I see people use a lot, frustratingly, that really frustrates them. So see this beautiful line right here? This is something that somebody's drawn in. The problem with this, though, is it's hard to get it to snap to the margins. So then it's another one. You're like, wait a minute, does that go to the margin? Do I have to, do this a little bit more? So instead of drawing this in, use something that is really at your fingertips, and which is this little button right here, which is the border. So I've got my, so you can see I have the show hide button on, and I've got my cursor right here, and I'm going to use the bottom border. That's all I'm going to do. And now this thing, I know it snaps to the margins, but here's what's kind of fun is you can change, you can have a little fun with that. You can make it a little thicker. Let's say, you know, that's the kind of the, I think that's the kind of the default. The width here, you can, let's say, I like this a little bit thicker. Let me try this again. You have to kind of reset it each time. All right. You can, let's really emphasize it so you can really see it. There, you know, like, whoa, I don't know if you would want to use it that thick, but I just did that so you could see it. You can do other kinds of things, and I've seen this just for a little stylistic, and it's just plain up, straight up word, you know. You can do it kind of a designy thing. That's kind of cool. So it kind of like a little zap. It still has that section break. It's a little different. And then you can, you know, you can make it its thickness here. So this is actually kind of fun to do. You can, and then you can change up its thickness too. So it's just really pronounce this. There. Whoa, you know. Other things I've seen people do is let's try to think here. Color. This is a now, okay, I'm going to show you this, but you have to kind of be knowledgeable about the field that you're going into, if they're into color or not. Some fields are like, I'm all about the color, give it, you know, it's fine. But some fields are, you know, may not value that as much. So let's say I like the color blue. And so let me hit that again. So that's blue. I don't know if you can see that very well, but that's blue, or red or green or whatever it is. That's a way sometimes to kind of add a little design element that kind of can be interesting. I think one of the reasons why people like templates is because they use color. And so this is a way to introduce color in a simple way. Okay, so that's the underlying sections. And this is typically used for section breaks, okay? So I showed Walter Conservation earlier, section breaks, that's why you like that. And
I have a question.
yes, Mir.
So when you're using colors, like, so we should not use like very bright colors, but is it like we should stick to more formal ones like blue or black? So what the point is mainly is to make it more attractive or something, or like what is the like point? Which color should we use?
Yeah, the point is to make it more attractive and make it a little bit different than other candidates' resumes. But just be respectful of your fields. You know, like if you're in a design field, or if you're, you know, you probably have a wider palette to use. And because through design resumes, you share a lot of your aesthetic through your resume. You know, your whole design look and philosophy and approach typically shows up in your resume. But if you're in a more you know, a field that wants more straightforward standard resumes, not a lot of embellishment, and I would use that in engineering, sciences, some aspects of business. You would, if you're using color, use it sparingly, you know, so more than more. And this is just me, Wendy Shoemaker, just through observation. I have not researched this. You could probably approach employers and ask them that question. It wouldn't, where I feel confident about is in answering your question is you don't want it to be distracting. You don't want it to be like, whoa, what's that color? Whoa, you know, because you want them to know what to talk about, you know. Okay, good question. Thank you, Mir. Okay, so let's move forward. So we got underlined columns. All right, columns. This is a thing. So columns is something let's see if I can find it first. They just recently changed this. Okay, it's in your layout section right here. So let me just use this as an example. So columns are typically used for skills. There's lists of things, and typically if you've got a section of a bunch of courses, and you got a whole bunch or a bunch of skills, and you don't want it to be this long list, you want to use the column formatter to kind of use more of that space across the document. Okay. And let's see, I think I had one earlier. I had to kind of go search for this. Hold on a second. I think it was this one. This is, yeah, okay, here's an example. So now right? I've got the show hide button on. You can see the skills. Look what they've done. They've used tabs, which is fine, right? But the problem is, look at what happens when I decide, I don't feel like I don't really want to do that anymore. I want to change the font. Oh, it's not aligned anymore. Dang it. So I don't have to go back and tab that. And so another option, instead of doing that, is do this. And this will get uglier before it gets better here. So hold on a second. So you have to kind of hang out here and be patient. All right, so now we got a straight up. And the problem here, just by lining them up on and stacking them on top of each other, is now we got on two pages. And I don't want 2 pages. These two lines on 2 pages, I don't think so. So we're going to highlight the text that we want in a column, okay? And then we're going to simply put it in 2 columns. You can do it if your words or your phrases are really short and clipped, you can even do it in 3. I've seen people do it in 3. Okay. And so now that I change this, I can change the font. Let's go back down to, what was it, 11 point something, I can't remember. Yeah. It holds on to that formatting. All right. Pretty cool. These are simple things to use, but you master them, it makes Word your friend. So Format Painter. So I just did something where I had to kind of guess. If I really wanted to know more, that I was being consistent with my formatting without having to kind of like, okay, let's see, it's 11-point font, it's Times New Roman, the tabs over here, the formatting's there. I can use Format Painter. And Format Painter has been there right here. It's under Cut and Copy. And it basically, it preserves, let me just mess something up here for you. So let's see, I'm going to change this to Calibri and make it a different font size. So make believe that's, like, oh, wait a minute. So I want this section to look like that section. So I'm going to take the section I like, that I want, and I'm going to go up to, I'm going to select the section. I'm going to go up to Format Painter, click on it, and see how it's got a little broom on my cursor. And I'm going to sweep up that, and it just made all that stuff. It's got it aligned, it's got it the right font size, the font type. And so if you've like taken the time to, like, okay, I've got, choose your fonts and the size, and you've done some fancy alignment, you don't have to go through each section. You can kind of select that and copy and format paint the other sections you want them to look like the sections you like, if that makes sense. That can be your friend too. Now, a word of warning, it doesn't work for all the things, so there may be some things that you may want to change. But I can show you.
Wendy, I had a request to show that one more time.
One more time?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then also there was a question that said, what should we do if we have no idea of a course end date? For example, 2/21 to something.
Is it important for you to share the date? Is my question. You probably don't need to even share the date. So you can, in a course listing text, you can list current and past. And if you have a future one, you could probably list it, but that would be one that you may want to qualify, like spring semester. But like if you, right now, you're in spring 2021, if you're enrolled in it, you can list it. You don't need to qualify it and provide any dates. It doesn't really matter. Okay. Remember, the purpose of a resume is to kind of spark a conversation, intrigue someone, and make them curious so that they ask you about it. So it doesn't need to be all the things, just they probably don't need, unless it's relevant to your job application. I don't think you need to have that. Okay. All right. I've had a request to show that again. So let me do that. And I actually kind of messed something up earlier with the resume intentionally, knowing I was going to do that. Okay. So let's use that. Okay. So, oh dear. Bye is got, look at here. We've got all kinds of mess going on here. I mean, oh, bye. So she has got, or we, let's see if we can fix this section. See, like, I think they fell asleep or something, and that space is just going off to like wherever. There we go. We got it. And so that's why, you know, you can see this. So first I'm going to align the dates because I don't think, I mean, I can try it. Let's, no, actually there's not a section that works here. So let's, I'm first going to right align the dates. And the typical, all right, let's say, I'm going to take that. See, this is the underlining that I don't think works on a document. That's my personal preference. You may love them, and that's fine. Okay. Let's say I've got that. Okay. Let's say I want this to look like, I want this section, pardon me, to look like that section. All right. So additional experience, it's Format Painter. See how that happened? Let's do this too. Let's see what happens. This is I'm out here. I don't know if it's going to hold on to everything. It doesn't do it perfectly for everything. It doesn't carry all. It probably, yeah, it doesn't carry over the right align. So you're going to have to do those manually, but it held on to the font size and font type. So it does a really nice job of bolding, you know, standard formatting things, but the right aligning tab, it doesn't really, Format Painter doesn't really work so well. So you're gonna have to do that manually, okay? Does that answer your question for the request of showing that again, a Format Painter? Well, you're all hanging out here, so this must be interesting enough. I didn't know if this was gonna be worthy of a presentation, but I appreciate you hanging in here. All right, so let's look at other kinds of, let's fix some problems that I've seen happen with students' resumes. And one that's very common, like, oh, I can't get this, I got 3 lines or got 1 line on this next page and it's making me mad, you know, and it's understandable. That's frustrating. So let me show you how to fix that using your show hide. And I had messed up this, no, that's not the one. Hold on a second. I think it was this one. Yeah, here we go. Joe Business here has got 3 lines. Okay, so this is a way for me to count it. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and Joe, he doesn't want that. A couple things that you can do, and it's just simple. See, now that you have the show hide button on, you can select that. And so I know right away that the font size of that show hide button is 9. So I can bump that down. So white space on your document is a friend because it helps your eyes rest. It's a simple little design thing. So you want to preserve the white space because the temptation is that you would just, oh, I'll just get rid of the spaces for everything. Oh boy. And I see this a lot, you know, like, this is a mess. If you did that throughout your whole document, it looks like a paper, you know, and there's no space and you don't really get a sense of, your eye doesn't get to rest. So really use the show hide button to minimize the size of those spaces. And I'll do this and just be consistent. Let's see, I can't remember what I did for this one. I did this for 8. So let's do this down to 6. Probably won't take that much. Oh, it's getting there. Yep, almost there. oops, and you have to make sure that you have, this is why I don't like underlining. You see how you have to make sure you select it. Otherwise it doesn't know what you want it to do. There we go. We got onto one page. I didn't have to change the font. I didn't have to change the margins. Other things you can do, and this is where the ruler comes into play, is you can move things around. It's not a bad idea to move your name up a little bit. You don't need to technically, we have all been so conditioned using Word to have 1-inch margins in our papers. And, you know, we get comments back from our professors like, no, you need to use 1-inch margins. That doesn't really apply to resumes. Now, you obviously, you know, it has to print out well, but you can have a smaller margin on, especially on the top. Okay. So, and that's another way to kind of eke some space. You maybe just, oh, I just need one more line. I need to add a bullet here. And that can way to kind of cheat some space into your document. Okay. At this point, I've shown you what I'm going to show you today, and I thought we'd just open it up for questions or design problems that you have, or any questions about things that I've shown you.
Wendy, how about, is there an easy way to, if you have, say you, for some reason, maybe you're in education and you have a 2-page resume document, is there an easy way to put a page number on?
Yes. So, yeah, good question. Let's see if I can, let me just make this a 2-page document. Okay, so we just have that. Okay, so now we have a 2-page document. And so what I would do is use the page number, and they've changed the location of this recently, so I apologize as I kind of go look for it. Insert, there we go. Insert page number up here, top of the page. And you can do it right here. Okay, so now we have a problem. Because do we need page number on our first page? Probably not, you know. So we can do this thing, different first page. Bloop. And it held on to it on the page 2. And then you can do it, I mean, if you really want to be fancy, and you can do Shoemaker, or no, this is Joe Marketing, not my name. So okay, so insert page number, and then just use some of the features in the bullet, in the header and footer bullet, different first page. So you don't want that first page to be the first page number on the first page, if that makes sense. Good question. Other questions?
Should we let the amount of text that is there on our resume exceed the 1-page limit? Like, should it go on to the next page?
If you can, okay, so the standard line here, to answer your question, is for most college students, 1 page is enough, is sufficient. And so try to make that 1 page. There's exceptions to every rule. Of course there is. It could be if you have an extraordinary set of experiences and your profession is fine with more than 1 page. And it can be all about your job search target. Every resume, you know, the different professions and industries kind of have their own look and feel for resumes and their own tolerances around resumes. So, you know, and it used to be 1 page was a hardcore rule, and that's been a little bit relaxed through the years as resumes became electronic documents, and, you know, so they weren't printing things out as much. That's why the 1 page, you know, because they were printing them out and they didn't want to, oh, now I got a 2nd page, I got a staple, and I don't want to bother with that. So that's why it was a hard, fast rule, and it's kind of been relaxed a little bit, but I always caution students about doing that, because if you can keep it to 1 page, it's just easier. You know, you don't, so if you can, if something is on the 2nd page, this is what I recommend you do. Make it a full 2 pages, or at least go beyond the halfway mark, you know. But then, you know, really critically examine what's that on that 2nd page, and is this relevant to your job search target, or could you, you know, merge this into the first page documents. It's a gift to be succinct about your skills. and it's you're going to probably have better reception from most employers. So it's not a hard, fast rule. And I'm just sharing with you the exceptions to the rule, why that happens. In some fields, just based on, what the students do. So like in helping professions, education, sometimes nonprofit, there's a lot of volunteering going on, and there's a lot of stuff, because it's just the nature of the work. And sometimes the 2 pages can help a candidate out for that reason. So it's always going to be a depends.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions I can answer?
Going once, going twice. Thank you so much, Wendy, for this presentation. It was excellent.